Michelle is doing some research on
Is it? Ooh, can you view this for a moment?
We're live streaming. Judge Flinger.
All right, well, I'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin by roll call this morning. Melissa,
Here.
Kevin,
Here.
Judge Vincent,
Here.
Judge Coleman,
Here.
Colton Gibbons.
Here.
All right, we have everyone present this morning. So we'll move into our next item of business, approval of the special call meeting minutes from 3/22/23 and approval of executive meeting minutes of 2/21/2023. I think you all had those in your packets. If there's no additions or corrections to the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Judge Vincent, second by Kevin. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor of the motion, let it know by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item of business is approval of invoice disbursement request number 6 from Lineback Bunkhauser Incorporated, $1,950. Phase 1 environmental site assessment update.
Move we approve the invoice from so.
Have a motion by Kevin to approve the invoice. And a second by Judge Vincent. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor of the motion, let it know by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Land acquisition. Mark, you got us.
Yeah. I'll give my spiel here. So basically the Chris Hewson from Short and Miller, they're the closing attorneys for the property. So basically Chris had asked some questions about basically if we need any special endorsements related to the title insurance on the property. So I had asked, well, kind of what's our options? So he gave me a couple of examples, but I really couldn't speak. To be honest, I couldn't speak on behalf of the county because technically, they're the ones going to be on the property owner. So we basically, I was trying to, I got in touch with Judge Fleener about it, and we talked to Miss Duval, the county attorney, and I talked to her, actually it was yesterday morning, and I sent her some additional information. And she had given me some information from where she had talked to, I guess, Chris Hewson about the special endorsements and whatnot. So I ended up calling him again yesterday. And one of the things that come up in conversation is on the title insurance, on how much you're insuring for the title insurance, whether it was just the value of the property or the value of the property and the cost of the building on top of the property. And that was Ms. Duval had brought that up. So I ended up calling Chris, and he said he only has the ability to write a policy up to the cost of the property. So that was relayed to me yesterday afternoon, but he had also brought up about sometimes that there was, if there was some type of environmental concern, that there could be an additional endorsement for, I guess, basically additional insurance in case, basically in case there's any type of environmental issues. But we should be addressing all that by, this where we're basically paid to get into the brownfield program through the Energy and Environment Cabinet. So, I mean, best I can see, I don't see where we would need that. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. And also too, I know that on the property, on the part, the part where we're going to put the parking, way back in 1920, I could see on the appraisal that was a bunch of small parcels there. And I believe that's I talked to Chris, like I said, the closing attorney yesterday. And because they came up in conversation how back they were checking on, the title search and whatnot. But he said all that's getting cleaned up with what we're doing right now. Because I believe he still said that. My understanding is that some of that stuff still carried through up until where the property got changed here recently. Does that make sense, Judge Coleman? You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I assume the original, or where the car lot was really broke up into 9 separate lots on the initial plat.
Yep.
And so, yeah, but I don't think, obviously it's been in our family since the mid-50s. So
yeah. So as far as I can tell from after the additional information I got yesterday, everything looks like okay for us to proceed, as far as I can tell.
Well, Mark, Michelle came in just before we had our meeting this morning, and she's still got some questions and
Okay.
that she's trying to get answered.
Okay.
And she tried to get that done yesterday, but the people never got back to her. So
okay. Yeah, she told me of course, when I talked to her, she was getting ready to go into court yesterday.
yeah.
And of course, she told me, she says on Wednesday she has court, and so I did look on our court website, and it shows the district court. I guess it's in session in Butler County today. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So she says that's why she has a hard time making billings because court schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But she did bring up about the difference between insuring the parcel or insuring the project as far as title insurance. And of course, Chris told me he could only do a policy up to the cost of, I guess, the cost of land, which was, whatever the total of the two parcels are. So, but I did send her the appraisal that showed the small parcels that we discussed early. And then, I showed her basically the 2 separate parcels and where that, we got the one depiction from the one appraisal where that's getting tracked off.
Yeah.
So I explained that best I could, and also gave her a copy of the phase 1 environmental report so she could see, what was found during the phase 1. I also gave her like an informational sheet, that Energy Environment has related to that brownfield program, so she could see, what all that is for you, just so you know. So it took me a little while to dig all that up, but I got it all put together, and I summarized all that best I could to explain so she could hopefully possibly make sense of what I sent her.
Yeah.
What's the time frame on getting this done?
She thinks that she can get this in the next couple of days. She thinks she can get the information that she's looking for.
And also too, just so everybody knows, Chris, like I said, Chris Houston, he basically said, he can set up for closing anytime. He just needs confirmation, if there's anything on the endorsement side, if there's anything, he needs to have that included in the closing statement. So he's got to we got to be able to give him direction for he can finalize the closing date. That's basically been what the holdup is trying to get that one issue resolved. And also too, everything, just so everybody knows, all the Lineback Funkhauser, they got the stuff updated. All that got turned into Energy Environment Cabinet. And basically all we have to do, I believe, is give them a copy, I believe, of the deed. Once we get the deed stuff done, we end up turning that into Energy Environment. Just so everybody knows, because that's something they need for the records.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at with it. Judge Fleener, did she say what all did she say anything about what she was trying to take a look at, or
Just what you had just alluded to there?
Okay.
On the top insurance and versus the whole project insurance.
Okay. So that's where we're at. That's You know, I mean, like I said, I want to do my due diligence,
Mhm.
because ultimately the county's going to be the owner of the property.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it too.
So,
And like I said, she thinks she can, or I feel like that she can have that information in just a couple of days or so.
okay. Other than that, if everything's pans out and there's no issues, you know, we can, you know, give Chris direction to roll with finishing up the closing statement. We can set a closing date. And then if I assume something by chance there is an issue come up that we could discuss, we could set up a special call meeting if we need to discuss it. Just, you know, we could do it remotely whenever everybody was possibly available. We may have a quick meeting if we need to as well. So, and also, I guess I'll bring up one more thing, I guess, while I'm on here. So everybody knows that we did ask for additional use allowance, which is basically our annual bond payment for the project. I have my notes here. We had requested an additional $228,200 for our use allowance, but they end up giving us $63,500, and that's a number that the General Assembly came up with, not us. So I'm not sure just yet what that equates to in additional funding, how that impacts the budget and whatnot. So that's something we're going to be working on here soon. Just so you all know, to see where we stand. I may have that. I may have that already from the financial advisor. I believe I do, but we haven't backed in architect fees and cost of construction and ancillary costs that go along with the project to see if we're short, you know, how tight that puts us on the budget. Just so everybody knows that's something we're working through on all of our projects. So I just wanted to bring that up. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So with the land, we're gonna see what Michelle brings us to us, and then
Yeah, if there's not, I mean, so I assume if there's, you know, first, you know, we had previously, you know, we had asked for title insurance,
Mhm.
you know, already, and so, you know, Chris had basically asked, do you need any special endorsements? And so I'm like, well, I don't know really what that is. And he said basically, primarily one after I talked to him again yesterday, the primary would be as if there was like insurance for environmental issues. I guess I don't know how much or that covers or whatever. So any issue there, but you know, we are joining in that, you know, the brownfield program through Energy and Environment Cabinet, and that should limit our liability in case there's any issues on the property. Because that program, my understanding, is designed to encourage redevelopment of, you know, let's say blighted properties, or let's say something let's say it had a gas station there in the past and they didn't get it cleaned up properly. So normally I believe that the property owner is, you know, once they assume own the property, they assume liability. So this helps limit future property owners for liability on issues. Just like I believe there's, you know, when Lineback Funkhauser did their report, you know, I believe there was a gas station across the street there. You know, if there was a leak in the tank across the street, depending on how the groundwater ran underneath the ground, that could travel over onto your property and potentially contaminate the ground on your property. So things like that are looked at as well. Same thing as Clinton County. I believe, Jeff, am I correct? They had an adjacent gas station or somewhere they had found previously, and that was basically, I believe, like uphill of the property they bought. So if there was any issue there, that could flow onto the site that we had purchased in Clinton County. So that brownfield stuff hopefully helps protect us against those type of issues.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
On some of the other projects that you guys are bidding, what kind of square foot cost are you seeing on some of the other projects?
Well, Tim, I gave some of that information to Tommy he's been working on Barron County, but like for instance in Oldham County, with us moving the courthouse and some of that cost, it was around $660 some a square foot. I I got a number in a spreadsheet. Of course, that project there had no on-site parking. That's pretty much straight construction. So, there's some differences there. And then in Bath County, Jeff, that was a little over a 20,000 square foot building. And then that came in at like 700 and something.
No, it was $799,
Yeah.
basically $800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is that project we've had to put on hold because we couldn't afford to bond. We couldn't bond the project and pay for all the cost. So we're working on ways right now to see what we can do to possibly get that one in budget. Barron County, we're real close. We're real close right now. So I just sent some information on to the architects there on that project to take a look, because we're trying to get all our preliminary costs together, but we're just basically still in phase A, which is what we're getting ready to start, here as soon as we get the property closed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we had one on Crittenden County. We're basically all the way through construction documents. It's basically ready to bid, but we had a third-party estimate. We don't have a CM on that one. We had a third-party estimator on that one. It came up with about $770 a square foot. It's about the same size as your all's Butler, same size as Bath, generally. So unfortunately, that's what people are seeing right now. I don't know what you all, Tim, are thinking, but.
Until you get something that you can start pricing, it's really difficult. I mean, we've heard some of these numbers as you've indicated, Mark. And it's like, I was just wondering if it was getting any better or not. Doesn't appear to be.
I don't know. And I guess related to Butler County, we're close to Bowling Green, but I know when I worked for Cabin for Health and Family Services, they had a facility in Hopkinsville, and we had a hard time getting anybody to go to work in Hopkinsville because everybody had plenty of work in Bowling Green. Yeah. So we were like out in no man's land, but we were, realistically, they weren't too far away. But, I guess just the demand for, the workforce, I think, is a problem. And then, we got Oldham County done, but we're up in Louisville. We got the biggest labor market in the state, if you will. And I was just worried about on some of these smaller projects where you're farther away from some of the contractors, that's going to affect us getting bidders. I don't know, or affect the subs. I don't know that. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
So hopefully there's good contractors in both areas. So
yeah,
hopefully we can strike that
balance and get them to.
The other thing, I know our take on Oldham County, the difference between the cost in Oldham and Bath, kind of a couple things like Mark mentioned. You got the proximity to Louisville there for Oldham, which helped, I think. But it's also a very large project compared to these others. So our experience is there's usually some economy to scale that you get. The building gets bigger, but as they get smaller, you lose some of that.
Yeah.
And all of these, the ones we've been, working on, the Bath, the Crittenden, Butler, are all virtually the same size. So the thing is, just going forward, and we've stated this on Bath, we had a bunch of deductive alternates, but there's only so much you can take out. It was millions that were the problem. You're not going to get millions out of a building, no matter what you do to it. The only way to do that, is make it smaller. You're not going to take it out of finishes and things like that. So, we were able to find, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you're not going to get millions out of it. So going forward, we need to make sure that, we're not counting on it being value engineered out. If the disparity is, in the millions of dollars, that can't work going forward. So that's why the AOC is, spending some time up front looking at it hard before we, actually get into the design. But one thing we could do, Tim, that might help I'm not suggesting you all have to go ahead and do an estimate or anything, but we'd be happy to provide you a copy of a very similar building, which is Bath, that we completed and bid, just so you can kind of get a sense for, what the construction was, the finishes and all that. I think we can give you a full set of drawings and you can kind of at least have that in your back pocket going forward, because this one's going to be very similar in size. Yeah.
I mean, we've already identified some issues as far as some of the, the woodwork and finished casework. There's just not many people that do that anymore. I mean, there's probably a couple firms up in Louisville, but we used to have a couple. There used to be one in Glasgow, and because there was another one around here too that used to do all that kind of work, and they're out of business, and there's some limited competition in some of that. So it might not be a bad idea if you did that though, because we could really start looking at it and actually start beating the bushes now, because we need to know who those people are and start working that. So if you don't mind, just go ahead and forward that, or if you've got,
Yep.
just in a PDF, would be great.
Yep, we'll do that.
All right. Was there anything else to bring before the board at this time?
I just had a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
One was, has there been any further discussion about that right away for the street?
Yes. What I showed the mayor doesn't have any trouble with us coming up to the edge of the road there. He thought,
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, well, we can work out the exact numbers and all, but if he's generally okay with that idea, that tells us a lot. That's good. And then the other thing, and I don't need to get into the excruciating detail on this right now, but a while back I'd sent a couple of emails and a very similar building, the one we just finished up, that's almost ready to go to bid, is Crittenden County. It had virtually the same program as yours in Butler initially. But there were some items, particularly related to family court, that got added into the program after we got into it. That took a while to get worked out because the program actually changed as a result. So once we do start developing a building, that's one of the first things we'll need to verify, is whether or not any of those same adjustments need to be made for Butler, because just because of the difference in size, it would obviously impact the layout. So I guess we could table that until the property's worked out, but maybe at the next meeting, if that's okay with you, Mark, I could kind of go through the comparison of what what the original program was on Crittenden and what got changed, because they started off otherwise identical. So we would need to know going into it whether or not any adjustments were going to be made to the program that would be similar to that. So we can go through that kind of. I can just show it side by side next meeting, and that would help before we actually get into things.
And that was related to where they wanted the courtroom larger, right, Jeff? Is that right?
Well, part of it was making a courtroom larger, but there were some family court auxiliary spaces that weren't in the original program that got added, and that was a big chunk of space also.
Okay.
So yeah. One item was making the spectator area larger in one of the courtrooms, and then the other part was just all these extra, offices or spaces for juveniles, things like that was associated with family court. Yep.
Okay. Is there anybody else, Jeff, that we need to have at the meeting? I'm looking.
For what now?
Give me just 1 second here. So is it Judge McCown? Is Judge McCown the family court judge?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Does he have, Jeff, would you want him at that meeting?
That would probably be good when we are ready to discuss that. Since he's been, be the one occupying the space, he can weigh in on whether or not that's a concern.
Okay. Melissa, how often does he have court in Butler County?
He is here on the first and third Tuesday.
Okay, so he basically has court twice a month in Butler County. Okay.
That's his regular motion days. I mean, he'll be here
Okay.
usually at least 1 or 2 times a week.
You know, if you don't know by chance if on today, if is he having court somewhere else? Or
I'm sure he is.
okay. All right. I'm thinking, yeah, because it would be best. I don't know. Could you all possibly ask him and see, like, if sometimes, you're all having your stuff at the first of the day, if he could possibly start court at 9 instead of 8 and then attend by Zoom possibly, and then Jeff could go through some of these family court things with him. Would that be a possibility, you all think?
He doesn't start his motion days here until 8:30. So that's probably what he does in his other counties, but I can ask him to.
Okay. Because Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, since this is a two courtroom courthouse, if it was a three courtroom courthouse, the third one would possibly be a smaller family courtroom. And usually they have some extra spaces because it's for family court, for, a place to, interview a kid outside the courtroom and some different stuff like that.
Yep.
And so I believe Jeff had them add some of these extra offices that's normally attached to a family courtroom. And so Jeff wants to talk that probably primarily through with everybody. And judges see what the concerns were by the judges in Crittenden County and see if there's anything we need to incorporate. So that's where we could get input from the family court judge, is what Jeff's going for, I guess.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, and I'm not pressing it one way or the other. It's just one of those things that, at Crittenden County, the family court judge there noticed the spaces that were not there that she needed. And they were significant enough that, there was no way you could just squeeze it in later. It would affect the design from the get-go. So, whether you have it or not, I'm not pressing it. It's just, we certainly wouldn't want to find out later after we got into it that we had to squeeze in more space because there'd be no place to put it. So I think it's just more of a matter of just informing everybody. And it's really pretty simple. Then it's just a matter of deciding, which is entirely up to you all or the family court judge, whatever. But then the ALC just has to approve it. And ultimately on Crittenden, that's what happened, is they adjusted the program to include those spaces. But, we needed to know that before we actually laid out anything. So anyway, we've been through this all before, so we kind of know the drill. It's not going to be complicated. It's just a matter of making an informed decision. So.
Anything else, Jeff, you think of?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
All right. If there's nothing else to bring before the board, we need to set our next meeting. Mark, is there any way that we could possibly set it up to where Michelle could make it to these meetings too? Our county attorney, I know it's kind of a conflict between the judges and the attorneys here.
It's all up to your all schedule. As long as we can hit a different time, and time is no problem. Judge Coleman, what's your all's? I know we went through this and we had to find a date.
Well, typically, there's no real good day on anything. I can pretty much make an 8 o'clock on most days work.
Mhm.
Okay. What about what about Judge Vincent? What's his schedule like?
He's done left.
Oh, he has? Okay.
Yeah.
Melissa, do you know what his schedule's like?
I don't know what I think Fridays he doesn't have scheduled regular motion days, but I would think 8 o'clock on any day would be okay with him.
Okay. All right. So what day does Michelle not have court in Butler County?
She
know?
has district court on Wednesdays. And then she has family court on the first and third Tuesday. But normally she's not in there until the afternoon for family court.
Okay. So possibly, what about the Monday, the 15th at 8 o'clock, your all's time? Danny, do you got any?
No,
Michelle.
it's pretty much any time at, any of those 8 o'clock.
Yeah, just keep in mind that's 9 o'clock our time. So I mean, I know you're showing continued operations, but also the 16th and the 18th, we don't have any meetings as well on our end. So I don't know if any of that makes a difference to you all. But most of the time, everything we have is usually later on in the day. So probably most anything we can do will work. Jeff, you got any conflicts early in the morning?
The only one that I have that's a conflict is the one down in Clinton County is on that third Friday.
Yeah.
It's first thing. So I wouldn't be able to do a Friday on that particular Friday, but any other Friday be okay. So no, usually like you said, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning is never really an issue for me, other than that one day a month.
The 16th would be Judge McCown's day for court here, so that might be good. Just ask him to come early and already be here, so he would be ready for court when we got done.
Okay. That was the 16th.
Yes.
Okay. Do you all think we want to change that to our? What we would do, correct me if I'm wrong, we would have to advertise that to say we're going to change our meeting date if we're going to keep that regular.
Yes.
Yeah, typically, would be like y'all have a public announcements or whatnot in general, like how do y'all normally do? We could either advertise it in the paper, or if y'all have a regular place that y'all normally, announce that we got a physical court meeting or stuff like that, or social media or something, we can advertise it there if we need to.
Well, we can put it on Beach Tree News and.
Okay.
That's our local.
If y'all want to change it to, because that's technically, if that Tuesday the 16th, that's the third Tuesday of the month. We could change it and start having it on the third Tuesday every month at 8 o'clock local time.
Okay.
Well, will that work for Judge Vincent, you think?
I'm not sure where he's at on Tuesdays, but if he was driving, I guess he could just call in for the meeting.
Okay. You all let me ask you this. Do you all want to, I'm trying to think here.
I don't know if he's on the bench yet. Let me try to text him and and ask him.
Okay, I was just gonna pull up Butler on there. That's May 16th. It shows. What other, Judge Coleman, what other counties does he have? Edmondson?
Edmondson, Ohio, and Hancock.
Ohio shows nothing that day. Edmondson does show something. And then,
That's his home county, so
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
probably be better for him.
yeah, there's a case showing starting it at 8:30. But it's not like a huge amount. It's there's 5 things it looks like on the docket.
I'd say that probably the best day for him.
Of course, I just had to switch the district on there. Okay. Y'all just want to, do you think y'all want to, let me ask you this, do y'all want to just have that as a special call meeting first and make sure everybody can make it? And then if that looks like that's going to be a date that's good for everybody, we'll advertise and make that a permanent new date.
I think that's good.
That gives us one meeting to make sure it's okay for everybody before we officially change it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna set our next meeting on Tuesday, May the 16th at 8 a.m.
Yep, that'll be a special call meeting, and then we'll get since it's a special called agenda, we got to post it at least 24 hours in advance and post the agenda. So we'll get that together and get that to you all, Judge Fleener, and you can post that on a courthouse door, if you want to, and then we'll just have our next meeting then if everything's okay. If everybody's schedule wise, then we can vote to permanently change it to the next meeting, and then we'll get it advertised.
Okay. That'll work.
All righty.
If that's all, if that's everything, I need a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
Kevin, second by Melissa. All in favor? Then I'm saying aye. Motion carries. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.